Hello, everyone! It's Ty Black and Culture here during K-Way Weekend with a bunch of really cool people like Lonzo Starr, the CEO of Concrete Comics, Jermel Leslie, the creator of Absolver and the art director of Concrete Comics, and Lauren and Tosh of Midnight Comics, and they are just amazing as well. And of course, you have me, myself, Ty. We're here talking about indie comics and how indie comics is not so indie anymore. It's not so small anymore. It's becoming big. It's becoming big stuff. You've got folks like Robert Kirkman, who created Invincible and The Walking Dead and Die Die Die, which are now no longer small series. They're big series. And other amazing folks that are out here making crazy stuff that's no longer really small potatoes. So we're talking about it. We're getting into it. We might argue a little bit, but it's all in the heart of getting down to talking about indies. So with that being said, the floor is open. How are y'all? How do y'all feel about the state of indie comics where we're at right now?
I just want to say, like, why don't I have a bigger and better title in Concrete Comics? Like, I'm a founding member. This man gets called CEO, and I'm just a creator, bro. Like, what's up with that?
No.
You
Pause.
know?
Pump the spicy brakes. I said, Jermel
Art,
Lessie, creator of Absolver,
And
also art director of
art
Concrete.
director. I'm talking about president. What CFO? I mean, there's a whole. We'll talk about that later, bro. It's been 5 years, dog. So
Wow.
I need a promotion.
Mm,
We'll be discussing this with HR immediately after this live.
apparently.
Immediately after this live,
Why you always cut up at the beginning? Why can't you cut up in the
right.
middle?
and then he doesn't know why it goes downhill from there. You know what I mean? He never
No,
knows why it
it's
goes downhill and why I descend into darkness
it's
afterwards.
only up from this point. It's only up from this point.
Say less.
Let's go. Let's
Hmm.
go.
So the state of indie comics, starting with Lloyd and Natasha. What are you guys' feelings about the current state of indie comics?
Certainly way different than it was even 3 years ago when we got started. Like, there's so much more available, right? I think among the first people that we saw, I brought this up when we chatted with uh the big three here, and Anaji, Jamel, and Lonzo about it earlier. Like, there weren't a lot to kind of not necessarily connect to, but there wasn't as many comic creators that we saw in the indie game even 3 years ago, right? There's this recent boom in content that I feel like that we haven't seen, even if you go back to the days of like Milestone. And we did talk about that with Marcus Roberts at one point. We was talking about all the people that kind of inspired him coming up. But because, again, there's this huge boom now that we just didn't see before. So I think now just, I don't know. I lost my whole train of thought. I apologize. But no, yeah, it's just a huge boom in indie content, and I think it's super awesome. And Tasha's been saying it for the longest. It's the new mainstream because of the amount of consistent content that's coming out that's in the indie scene right now. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
I gotta put my words out there when I got words I gotta say.
I
and now you
apologize.
said them.
It's a good segue. Roll with it.
Whatever. But no, yep. Like you said, I think I've said it many, many times in the last few months. Just indie this is what's gonna replace Hollywood. We're about to make our own because at this point, they're not giving us what we want. And in order to get what we want and have creators that are passionate about what they're creating with good stories, we have to turn to indie media in general. What?
Sorry, I remember where I was going. Mainstream continues to tell the same tired old stories, and like she said, everybody's tired of that. And so that's why we saw that boom. There's representation now, but not only is there a bunch of representation, there's also really good stories now, not just I made a black story. No, this is a black story that's good. There's actually substance to it. That's where I was going. Ooh, there we go. Redemption.
Absolutely. Same question to you, Lonzo, but slightly different. So the state of comics currently, 5 years ago when you were getting into comics, you came right in the middle of a global pandemic, and a lot of different things were happening media wise, social consciousnessly wise. How do you think the state of comics has changed from when you got into the game during the pandemic to versus now, post pandemic, and now post a lot of that initial hyper visibility has kind of died down? where do you see the state of independent comics?
Well, I feel like for us personally, this era now is what we were actually training for prior to COVID. We were training to be in the con circuit and to be out there, going crazy every weekend, and just, online was going to be our second, but in person was going to be our main. So we were trained for this moment. When COVID happened, we just had to pivot and switch them around to where we're online based, make sure we do everything online, and whenever physical opportunities come about, we make sure that we go. So it don't really feel too different for us at all, because this is what the real world actually felt like before. You know what I'm saying? Being online was never the main option before COVID. It became it during COVID. So, right now it feels like things are back to normal, and I think that's why a lot of people haven't been able to pivot and shift back, because they were used to the end of the world.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Jermel, same question but slightly different. You're a longtime lover of indie comics. You have said it multiple times yourself. Your favorite comic book character is Tom McFarlane's Spawn. From the early, I would say the late 90s, that those early 2000 era to now, what do you see is different from then to now in the current state of comics?
So I'm going to speak on what is very important to me, is our stories being told and being told properly. I mean, because when we was starting, close around when we started, but a little prior to that, the most of our Black stories, everything was coming out of Egypt. Everything was coming out of Egypt. This character based on Ra and this, and I mean, it was dope. But after a while, it's enough of that. So for me, the biggest difference is like what we're doing now, outside of Concrete, outside of Midnight. There's a bunch of dope representation that's coming out, and to me, I feel like that's the biggest contribution or change that I've seen and I love and I respect. So for me, it's that area.
Absolutely. And touching base on how you're like a lot of back in the day, a lot of Black comics, if you will, were stories that were kind of grounded in Africa, and specifically like East Africa. I do think that's something I've loved about the current state of comics, is that really there is such a big diversity here. You're hearing not just like, in indie comics in general, but Black stories, all different kinds of Black stories about suburban kids, Black stories about people from the hood, if you will, Black stories about men coming in and out of prison. Even like I've seen some ecological Black stories as well, talking about like things dealing with Black agriculture and like the way, like our physical land where our ancestor came from here in the States. So I absolutely have to agree. There is a greater diversity. Since everyone here has made a comic, congratulations, you did the hard part. You put out multiple books. From your experience, comic book production prior to the pandemic, because the pandemic is definitely a big shift for a lot of people. Prior to the pandemic, what was different about comic book production versus now making comic book production, if there is any, or can you just tell us about the difference in production pre-pandemic, post-pandemic?
Well, definitely the learning curve. Pre-pandemic, we was just getting into this, so learning certain things, understanding certain things, getting used to certain things. And I feel like it was a blessing, because the pandemic not only there was a shift, but it allowed things to slow down, so we can really just figure out, okay, how much you can figure out your budget, you figure out time, you can figure to me just a learning curve. That was the biggest thing for me personally.
So I was say for us, it was very difficult. So obviously we didn't officially become Midnight Comics until 2020, but production of our manga, The Unbeloved, started in 2019. And trying to find a traditional comic book artist was difficult. Our artist that we had for The Unbeloved was somebody that we met on Fiverr. But honestly, trying to find somebody prior was very difficult, because I think the pandemic allowed people to really explore different avenues of making money or pursuing passions and stuff like that. So I personally our experiences, well, we ran into Concrete, and they put us on with some artists that they used in the past. But learning more about those artists, they had just gotten started really with their craft not too long prior. So within those pandemic years and stuff. So I think prior to, it was more difficult because a lot of people weren't really as accessible as they were during, but now hereafter, people have really found themselves in their passions and continue to develop their skills. So I think now it's definitely easier, in our opinion, to find some artists or whatever to help develop our books.
Yeah, I feel similar. It was definitely prior to COVID. It was a little difficult. The best bet to finding an artist, but pre-COVID was Fiverr. That's where you could find people that were trusted. You know, your money was kind of in a safe hands because you could kind of get it back if something went haywire, and there was a track record. But the dope thing during COVID was, you know, me personally, for the books that I create, I got to meet artists that were brand new. That, like, when it comes to Matthias Javi, my book was the first book he ever colored, like a full-fledged book. So, you know, then from my book, he went to Watchmen, then he went to Odina, then he went to other books, and now he's a full-time seasoned colorist. And, you know, Serge, you know, he worked with one of us as well. We were like his first book. He was only doing pinups, and he did his first couple books with us. He did a lot of Watchmen covers. Then that's what made me know he was serious. So when Lloyd and them asked if I knew an artist, I said, yeah, I know one. Boom. Now he got first big break kind of with Midnight Comics. Bruno, he's done work, but never full-fledged work, you know, so we got to grow with a lot of artists during that COVID time, to where we were all like learning at the same time. I was still learning how to write a book to the level I write now. I was still learning how to just write a comic book. That acted like my first book I've ever written. So it was just a lot of learning, but it was dope because we all we're just leveling up all at the same time.
Absolutely. One thing I've noticed about indie scenes in general is that there's typically a lower barrier to entry for a lot of indie scenes because, of course, everybody in here is getting started. Would you say that that's probably why a lot of people are gravitating to making indie comics now, is because they have stories that they want to tell, but comics is kind of a low barrier to entry to get their stories told?
Most definitely. You know, every time I write, I envision a TV show, a cartoon, a movie. But the most affordable medium is comic books. So, outside writing a book, you know, but again, I guess it just boils down to the visuals. But I also think there has to be an aspect of love for comics in there too. You know, I don't think you're just gonna just pick it because it's the cheapest or the most easiest. You know, because honestly, to do this, you really have to have a love. I'm gonna say it over and over and over. This takes a lot of love and dedication, and so I think those would be the reasons for me personally.
Tasha, your thoughts?
I'm right there with Jamel. I think I read a post earlier today. Someone said, I don't have the money to make a movie, and I don't have the writing chops to make a book, like a novel. So I chose comics. And I was like, you know, that's pretty cool. And I definitely agree that some people are getting into comics because it is the easiest medium. But some people are getting into it because they think it's the easiest medium. They think it's easy. They may not necessarily want to tell a story. They may think it's a way to make a buck. I've seen a few people try and fail at that because the love wasn't there. It was all about trying to get a cash grab. Definitely, Mel said, you gotta have a love for it. You gotta have a love and a passion for storytelling, for comics, for creating worlds, for putting in the work. That it does still take work, very much. Blood, sweat, and tears from everybody on this planet right now.
Yeah, for sure. I would say, making a comic is probably the best proof of concept. Probably better than a novel because you can take a comic to somebody and they can just look at it and be like, okay, is it this? That's what the characters look like. That's what this look like. A novel you may never have to design the characters at all. You just write them. Write their names and you make a story. And some people they can read that and make movies like Fifth Element and stuff like that. But a comic, you can just look at it and then you can be like, oh yeah, I can film this. And they just film it. But the other thing is that we live in the age now where making a comic is a lot easier than it was, 20 years ago. 20 years ago, you had to be cut from the cloth to even dream of making a comic book. That was like, you know what I mean? That was like such an unfathomable thought for me when I realized I couldn't, I knew I couldn't draw. So I'm like, I could never make a comic book. You know what I'm saying? Because I can't do it. I didn't know anybody that drew comic books on that level. It just wasn't something you would see. You wouldn't run into somebody that just says, "Oh, yeah, I'm a comic book publisher." I mean, a publisher that you would rarely ever meet someone like that. And I never went to Comic Cons and stuff like that. It was just so far fetched for me personally. So I think right now you may bump into a dude that say, "Yeah, I got a comic out." Like, damn, okay. And then you ask him how did he do it? He'd be like, "Oh yeah, I found a dude on Fiverr." Yep. So it's like it's just so much easier right now.
I mean, we also had factors like gatekeeping. Around the time we started, a lot of people was holding back information, didn't want to tell us anything. And two, growing up, it was kind of unpopular, to be into cartoons and comic books and stuff like that. It never really affected me, but I didn't know it was that unpopular until social media. I was just always into action figures and comics and shit. And I just never cared what anybody thought of me anyway. So I think those two factors played to exactly what you were saying about it was hard, because if the information was accessible, oh, you got to find an artist, find a colorist, and and you need an editor. Like if we knew all of that, I think we would have all started a bit earlier. But we didn't know.
Yeah. We didn't know. We had no clue. I found that dude, and there was a wrap. I said, "How you make this, bro?" It was over with.
And I'm looking from both sides too, as somebody who has written novels. Like, sure, the novel is easier because I don't have to worry about paying people to do all that other parts of it. But like Lonzo's comic is the easier proof of concept.
And stemming from proof of concept, and also Jermel, to your point, talking about how comic books, cartoons, anime, all this very nerdy stuff is now very mainstream. Even in my very youthful life, back in the 2010s, I tell people there was a very stark difference. When I was growing up in the 2010s, I definitely was a deep nerd. I was deep into the nerdy stuff, but it definitely was something that you were still getting bullied for. Versus now, where everybody and their mama is walking around with a Goku shirt, or everybody and their mama's got some kind of superhero merch. And I think that's so incredibly cool, because just talking about that barrier of entry earlier, it's much lower on that end as well, because it's so mainstream. More people could be interested in your product. But also something that's been brought up throughout K-Way and some other panels is that a lot of people seem a little bit fatigued with the popular media that has persisted up until this point, whether it be WB, whether it be Marvel, DC. For indie comics, what do you think is it that allows people to enjoy indie comics in such a way that they're getting fatigued with some of the bigger IPs out there?
I think there's a lack of passion in mainstream media to an extent, right? Like we still, as indie creators, still have a level of passion behind these projects. These are our babies. These are things that we've thought of, put, again, blood, sweat, and tears and stuff into. I don't remember who I was talking to about this. Might have been one of y'all when we was talking about like Marvel, or even recently Star Wars or what have you. In the beginning with Marvel, it was, we're taking a chance with this. They wanted to make sure they got it right. right? They wasn't just throwing the same type of story at us. They were really painstakingly trying to point towards the comics and stuff like that. And I don't have an issue with where they're going right now, but there's still this level of get it out there, they're going to consume it anyway, right? There's not as much, they're not going against the grain, they're not taking chances the way that they used to. And it shows, right? There's nothing, they lost the uniqueness because everybody's just coming out with superhero media. Everybody's coming out with the next, the hero this, the hero that, or just throw this main superpower character out there. The passion's gone, the uniqueness is gone, and the willingness to take chances and innovate is gone. Whereas in indie comics, everybody's like, all right, like obviously we've seen Concrete as they started their rise to prominence. It was like, okay, I want stories. I don't want to be just like them though. How do I differentiate but still reach that level, right? We're still trying to innovate. We still have that passion behind it. So I think that's that major difference that we're seeing between indie and mainstream media.
What about you, Alonzo? What are your thoughts on this topic?
How did you word the question again?
So, mainstream media, people are becoming fatigued with some of the IPs that are popular right now. What's indie doing that's getting the people wanting more?
Well, it's similar to what Lloyd was saying. It's fresh content. We're really pushing to make content that you haven't seen before or consumed before in a different way. We're really studying how to write a good book. We're not just throwing something out there like we just we're just privileged creators that just got money to waste. Like we're really putting our like heart and soul into these stories, and I think when people read it, they can feel that. You know what I mean? Like we all read throwaway Marvel DC books. Like why did they make this? You know what I'm saying? Why didn't you give us what we asked for? Why are you shoving this down us? You know what I'm saying? So we don't have the opportunity to even give you any fluff or filler stuff. We don't have a chance. We got to give you everything that is top notch. We can't give you no fluff, because the moment we give you fluff, y'all gone. You out the door. You're going back to Marvel and DC. So we telling the top notch stories we can from the first time, and you get to be like, yo. I think people like to be like, yo, I put this person on to this person. I put this on to that. So we also give people bragging rights. Hey, you don't know about Soul, do you? Oh yeah, Soul for Midnight. That's fire, bro. Let me school you to this quick. So people want that, and that's what the indie community gives.
Absolutely. Your thoughts, Jamel?
I think there's a lot of things. I think mainstream they've forgotten their core. To use music as an example. Snoop Dogg and Jay-Z, they grew with the audience, their fan base. They didn't try to dumb down for the younger people, and a lot of old musicians, they try to dumb down and they lose their core audience. So, like, again, no disrespect to nobody, but don't just give me a gay Superman because that's what's trending right now. Give me a dope story, create a new character that has a specific love interest in this and the third. Focus on the story. And I think the problem with mainstream is they're losing us. One of the biggest reasons or part of it for us creating our own stories was, you lost me, I'm good. You know how many times I go to the comic book store and I buy Spider-Man #1, and then 3 months later we got a new Spider-Man #1. Oh, we didn't want, like, what's going on? You can't even keep up with it. So all the pandering, not thinking about your core audience, not allowing us to grow with a story. I think all that plays a factor, and their willingness not to take chances. I feel like your main characters should have all become one shots and allowed them to, Superman should really. I think if you got away from the issues 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever was Superman, you could and did a one shot. You can really allow him to be, self-contained stories. There you go. You could really allow him to to be Superman. You don't have to dumb him down for this or that or the third. Like, nah, let him be Superman, tell a great story. And that's why I love The Man of Steel. The Man of Steel is a perfect movie to show, like, all right, he's gonna be Superman 100%, but we're gonna give him some human emotion factors to deal with. And they're now starting to do that in the comic books, but mainstream, they just don't care, bro. They all trying to get money, and if it doesn't work, they're gonna reset it again. Try something. If it doesn't work, they're gonna reset it. Oh, this is popular. All right, cool. This is popular, so we're gonna give you a Black Hawk Man. Like, bro, I didn't grow up on a Black Hawk Man, bro. Like, what are you doing, bro? Like, it's just too much of that pandering and chasing money. And so, art is a love, art is a passion, and they're not doing that. And that's, to me, that's just what it boils down to. And in the indie community, for the most part, because not again, we, like Tosh said, there's a lot of people that just do it for outside of passion, but for the most part, that's what you're going to get. Down to the last minute, I just rewrote Absolver issue 4 and added 3 new pages because that's how much I care about my shit. And that's probably like the 17th rewrite of issue 4. Like, I go in because there's a love and there's a passion there. And then so I think that's what it all boils down to. Like,
No, I think that those are some valid points. And while I'm on you, let me actually start you off with this question. Because I know you like spicy takes. What would you say is your hottest take about mainstream media? I would say even as a whole. What is your hottest take about mainstream media? But also, how is the indie sphere in indie comics fulfilling the whole, or how is it solving the problem of your hot take about mainstream comics?
because if you are a real writer, or if you are a writer, you're in. Let me say it. If you're an artist, you're invested in your craft, and you put X amount of yourself into that craft. And so when you read indie, you can, it's fun, but there's nothing in it that's connecting you to that story anymore. Like, the dopest thing about Spider-Man was the relatability. So to me, you're barely getting that. You're just getting dope story, dope pictures, and this, that, and the third. Nobody, and I think we're filling that gap because we're willing to go to that extreme. And like Absolver, I'm going to use Absolver to go to that extreme. I'm going to tell the stories. Yes, he's going to fight demons and angels, but we're dealing with real killers, murderers, and rapists and child molesters out there. Nobody tells those stories. Somebody has actually gone through that, and they don't have a hero that is letting that emotion out for them. And that's why I feel like I take on that responsibility with Absolver. So the chances we're willing to take, mainstream is not doing it because they gotta consider this person, that person, their investors. Oh, we can't lose investors because Wolverine chopped the head off of a child molester, because we all know most of their investors are probably doing the exact same thing behind closed doors. I'm just going to keep it a buck. You feel me? But me, I can do it. The beginning of issue 5 of Absolver, people gonna look at me like, damn, Jamil, you're demented. But these are all actual shit that is happening around us. There was a legit disgruntled boyfriend who killed his girlfriend and then fed the baby to an alligator. That shit really fucking happened. And nobody's talking about it. It's a legit story of a woman who got upset with the boyfriend, killed the boyfriend's daughter, put it in a bin, and dragged it to the front door of that girl's mother. That shit really happened. So when I put it in my story, and you're like, "Damn, Jamil, you're crazy." Like you're. I'm like, bro, this shit actually happened. I didn't make this up for the story, but because how it made me feel, Absolver is going to handle that situation, and so the mainstream, they're not giving us that. They're not giving us that at all, and I feel like that's what we're feeling. At least for me, that's what I'm feeling. I feel like that is my responsibility. There's somebody that's gotten beat up, raped, molested, and they don't have nothing to read, or all they hear is, "Oh, you gotta learn to let it go." Like, no, I am really this angry. I'm really this sad. Like, I need an outlet, and nobody has that. And to me, and that's where Absolver comes from. That's the whole point of Adze. A lot of us watch. My last slave movie was 12 Years a Slave. I can't do it no more. I have nothing. I have nothing against white people, but I cannot ignore how that shit makes me feel.
No, wait, I'm sorry. You said you got nothing against white people, but everyone, why everyone's face look like that?
No, because I have to say that because I don't want nobody to feel like I'm a hateful racist. No, I'm not. I just hate the ignorance of whatever that was, and this is how it made me feel. So that's why I came up with the Adze story. Like, so there's no compassion, there's no love, there's nothing in these writings. They're cool stories, they look dope, but there's no more relatability. They have gone away from that. And I feel like that's where the indie space is coming. I think like that's our most important tool right now is that relatability. We're more grounded than mainstream has ever been.
Yep.
And and I'm gonna end with this. Like I said, like Midnight has some dope character concepts just off the mentality of their characters, and I was like, yo, that's fucking insane. But that's true. Some people have these type of fears. Some people have these type of issues, and so watching how your character combat that and deal with that is real fucking dope. I can't think of anything in mainstream where characters have to deal with those things, and so I feel like that's where we fill out the gap. I'm sorry, it was long, but
no.
That was great, dude.
We love passion. We're all here for it. And moving on to you, Lonzo. Same question, but slightly different. As somebody who curates stories to get out to the people, what do you think is something that mainstream is severely lacking in on the publisher side, the people who curate the media that we consume and get it out to the people? And how is Concrete moving to fill those voids, or how is indie comics and indie publishers moving to fill those voids that mainstream publishers aren't?
I feel like indie comics is in a great space as far as production wise. We have a lot of great stories that are deep into their issues. A lot of dope publishers, including from Concrete to Midnight to Advent to Freestyle. All the other various companies are dope. The main thing we need in the indie space is for now the consumers to be trained to look at us the same way they look at the big two or whoever else they look at, you know what I mean? And realize there's no difference here. Back in the day, people were worried about the quality of indie comics. They were like, what's it going to look like? You know what I mean? Because a lot of them artists were drawing it themselves, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're drawing it, writing it, coloring it, editing it, something's going to be slacking. Something on that book is going to be slacking. And that's not the case no more. Indie comics are looking at sometimes better than the mainstream titles out there, and people are realizing that. But we need to get more of the consumer base to really be active. And on the flip side of that, I think the mainstream media, they have a solid hold on their audience, their consumers, and they're choosing to keep giving us lackluster content because they feel like we're not going nowhere. But they're starting to feel the threat of indie comics, and by default, our presence is making them better. So I feel we both need each other, you know what I'm saying? But I hope they keep fucking up and we just keep, doing what we got to do. So
No,
That-
absolutely.
Yeah.
And then Lloyd and Tashi, same kind of question. We've got mainstream comics, they keep making these big missteps. And where do you think indie is filling the void in the consumer that may feel a little bit slighted by mainstream media?
So honestly, no matter how much they pander and occasionally do it in a good way, their biggest problem is always that they will still go back to trying to appease clan members.
The vocal minority.
That's literally
Mhm.
they always go back to trying to appease the clan members, no matter how much they try to claim that they're all about diversity and inclusion and all that stuff. They always go back because they don't want to lose them. We're not afraid to just stay authentically ourselves and not listen to that vocal minority.
Right.
Because we don't have time for that.
Oh, absolutely. I know that's real facts. Kind of taking a more comedic turn here. There's been a lot of media that's come out over the last 5 years, we'll say, the duration of Concrete. This is definitely a hot take safe space. But in your opinion, no particular order, what would you say is one of the worst piece of media that has come from mainstream comics? This could be cinematic, this could be comic books, graphic novels. What is some of the worst media that's come out in mainstream media? And you could just give it, you can give it raw, you can give it hot. It doesn't have to be anything crazy.
Miles Morales' Thor. That is all.
That was pretty.
We did talk about that.
Oh, y'all did?
We did.
Oh,
yeah, we
God.
did. It was pretty ass. That was terrible.
Yeah, that was enough said. Here we go. That's it for me.
I'm gonna be honest. It's kind of hard for me to answer this because when I watch something that's so trash or read something, I completely obliterate it from my memory. Like I can't even fathom it. And I, to double back, I feel like that's one of the issues with the indie space in the content creator spaces. We focus too much on what we hate, and there's not enough people talking about what they love. It's like people will read something or watch something that they love, and they'll like keep it secret. They're like, "Yeah, that joint was dope," but let it be bad. They go 100% on it. And I'm the opposite. When it's something I don't like, I don't even speak about it. I'm not gonna recommend it. I'm not gonna share it. I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm just gonna be like, "What was that?" Put it to the side. You know what I mean?
Speaking of that, go ahead.
No.
Drive engagement. That's why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was actually going to speak to that. One of the things I've talked about in my own content is that there is this cyclical nature between the content creators who love and consume the content and make content about the things, by these creators that make media based off IPs, and then the IP creators, they put it out, and it just kind of comes back here. You're getting these feedback, and it's really the creators who help support the community. I know that you've mentioned this before. The creator community does seem to have an issue with being kind of vitriolic and hyper focusing on the negative. If you could speak to the creator community, what is something that you would, what's some advice or maybe something that you could tell them as a creator looking for the supportive community in your own products?
For me, really, if you love it, share it. Like we don't need to see 80 different takes on how you disliked the Black Panther movie. You know what I mean? Some people loved it. Some people really enjoyed it. And no matter what you say, you're not going to create some big old movement of people signing a petition to recast T'Challa or whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? If you hate it so much, you can find a book or a story or an independent film that gives you everything that you wish that movie was. Talk about that. Go find that content. Go do the jobs that old DJs used to do with music. They used to tell you who is the next hot person from this city. When Jeezy was coming out, the DJs told us Jeezy is the guy y'all need to listen to. Every club, every DJ had it in the rotation because you don't want to be a DJ that's known for playing whack music. You want to put people on and like people like, yo, I heard this joint at the club. It was fire. Like I don't even know who it was. The DJ be like, oh yeah, that was Young Jeezy. You know, go look him up. So we need more content creators that are willing to stick their neck out and put some people on because we need you guys just like y'all need us for content. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So it's a perfect marriage.
Your thoughts, Jamel?
On the last recent question or the one prior?
Yeah. Oh, either one. It's fine. I'm open to takes.
Well, to the last one, it's not really the whole movie, but in Black Adam, that scene where that little boy is trying to gather the city to fight, like that shit pissed me off. Like, bro, you are not about to get me to grab a street sign and a book to fight these magical beings that are coming out nowhere, bro. Like they always put this I can't remember this Kids Bop shit in these movies, but that should be pissing me off. I hate cheesy scenes. That's the word I'm looking for, bro. That
cheesiness is trash.
You know what? The movie wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. But that scene alone makes it bad for me.
You don't like a good grilled cheese sandwich? You don't like a good cheese ball movie?
I hate cheesy scenes. I do not know why every movie needs a cheesy scene. Like, who's going to fight with me? I will. Like, no, we not. No. I'm scared.
Oh, Tashi, you don't like a good cheese scene? You don't like a good Gruyere?
If we go to do that, it has to know what it is. You can't just insert it in the middle.
Right. Like who are these editors? Like, bro, I would have never let that pass. Again, that boils out to passion. I'm looking at this writer like, yo, what the fuck is this shit? You get that kid out of here, bro. That movie was a 6 at best, and that scene made it a 3 for me, bro. And I liked it.
What? That's wild,
bro. I liked that movie till that point. It
was decent.
First was the Black Hawk man. I was like, okay, now you're doing too much. And then that scene came. I was like, right. Matter of fact, now that I'm talking about it, that's just a 2, fucking 3.
You know what? Something I didn't like that. I didn't like Rebel Moon. That I didn't like. I loved the way it looked. Cinematically, it was gorgeous, but yeah, story, I don't know. I didn't like it, but I didn't talk about it. I didn't tell nobody I didn't like it until now. So I mean, it is what it is.
And to the last question, honestly, I feel like everybody has a right to their own opinions. You know, you can feel however you need to feel. The issue is that argumentative, I'm trying to convince you to feel and look at it my way. Like, bro, you didn't like it. I heard you. I love it. Leave it alone. But no, they be going in and fighting, bro. That shit's annoying to me. So I just like it is what it is. And then go enjoy it for what it is, not what you wanted or expected it to be. Like Black Panther 2 was dope as shit. Did I want them to replace T'Challa? No, I didn't. I felt like they should replace the actor and kept Black Panther, but I watched it and that shit was dope as fuck. Like, it's a good movie, but there's a lot of hate out there for no reason. So stop trying to convince people to look at it your way, bro. Everybody's allowed to have opinions, and that's it.
Absolutely. Tashi and Lloyd, same kind of question in that same vein. I also want to put in the context that we've seen some of our creator friends in the space. Often they have to, when they put out their opinions, a lot of people become very vitriolic towards them, and they have to do a lot of fighting for their lives in comics. But of course, this is not our creator friends. This happens with all creatives. You kind of, as you create, people come and hate on you. That's just part of the internet. But what would you guys say as is some advice to some creators out there who may be getting a little disheartened about all the hate that they're receiving when they're reviewing content such as yours?
You want to start that one?
Was it reviewing or just that they get hate when
Say it again. Was
reviewing
it
or getting hate their content specifically.
Getting hate for their content, reviewing your content or others in the space.
Look, everything ain't for everybody.
Yeah.
Everything ain't for everybody. If it's not for them, then they can move on. You can keep making content for your audience.
Yeah.
We've had bad reviews.
Absolutely.
We've had great reviews, and those are the ones that really matter.
Yeah.
And we've had good criticism. That's
Mhm.
what's important. Criticism. Constructive criticism, not just negativity for the sake of negativity. We've had all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Well, fuck that. Can I say something to that? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, I did say cut up. I did say cut up in the middle. Go ahead. Go
Bruh.
ahead and cut up.
There it goes.
I'm cool with reviews. I'm cool with however you feel about my story. I appreciate it. I just feel as if you have content of your own, whether comic books, but your shit reads ass and looks like ass, you don't have the right to review bomb anybody else's book. And we've had that done to us early, and I wanted to snap and say so much shit about these two people, bro. And if they know who they are, like, bro,
y'all have triggered his PTSD again.
I just triggered his PTSD. No.
Listen, I don't walk around like I got the best shit in the world. I see some dope books out there, and I love the art. I read some dope indie books. I'm like, damn, I wish I could write like that. I give respect where respect is due.
Yeah.
You know, if you need pointers, I don't gatekeep and stuff like that. But if you put yourself out there to want to review somebody's shit, make sure your shit is at least an 8 on every level, from writing, editing, and art. Because if it's not, like, bro, what you do? Like, these people's books was trash on every level, and they bombed out shit. Like, thankfully,
it hasn't been that many. I think we've only had like a couple where it was like, I don't know if you can really stand on trying to tell us how good our stuff is. It's only been one.
Yeah, you would be surprised. Like, to piggyback, initially I thought, you know, we were also talking about like people that like post stuff like we brought up Black Panther or maybe even Star Wars, where they're talking heavy about and complaining about what mainstream is doing. But if they're creators as well, it should be a perfect segue as to what they could have done better or what it is that they're implementing into their own stories, and give reason as to why. Hey, check mine out. If this is what you're looking for, if this series or Star Wars is what's on my mind. I saw a post recently about that, about how terrible Star Wars Acolyte is and all this other stuff, and it's just like, it's not that bad, first off. But second off, as a creator, what is your story doing that is so much better, or what do you plan on doing with your story that would elevate it up past this? Put eyes on your stuff. Use that as a perfect segue to motivate readers or those or viewers that are disappointed in mainstream media and have them gravitate towards you. So yeah, that's probably the shortest and sweet version I could say to that without going on a soapbox. But yeah, just use your gripes and complaints in a more productive manner.
Absolutely.
No more sweet version.
That's part of our origin story. I'm so sorry to start rambling again. That's part of our origin story. We did fanfics. We did what if. We did how we would have done it better. We've talked at length about how we would have ended Naruto and done that better. No, the literal ending, everybody got what they want. What was the bad guys thing? Put everybody in Infinite Tsukiyomi so that they get what they want. So Boruto should be a fever dream. Nobody won. The bad guys win. That would subvert expectation. Naruto still becomes Hokage. Everybody wins, but they lost at the end. That's glorious. Nope. Cop out. So instead of, this is what I would have done, we said, screw it. We want to see representation, and we have ideas of how we would write stories. That's boom. There you go. Can't just sit in the background and complain forever. Do something. What are you going to do about it? So anyway, there you go.
No. That's perfect. And that actually kind of leads us into the end here. We've talked about a lot of different sectors and aspects of indie, the community surrounding indie creators themselves, mainstream's holes that indie is fulfilling. But I think as we're talking about 5 years of of Concrete, who is now probably one of the more notable indie names in the indie community. Yeah, I'm giving you mad props, Lonzo. You know, I'm about to I'm about to give you a little bit hype, but don't take it to heart. This is just for the panel. This is just for the panel.
Wow.
I don't want your head to get this big, you know. I just, you got that light skin flavor. I have to keep it down.
Oh, don't do that. I am healthy chocolate, chocolate.
Healthy chocolate is that's a stretch. I hope that you stretch before you leave. But
healthy chocolate, man. You know what I mean?
Yep, skinny even. But anywho, you keep talking about your light skinness. I'm trying to move on. I'm really trying to move on. But truthfully, in the last 5 years, you provided a lot of different things. I don't know if you've noticed. You provided a pathway for creators to see themselves in something. You are probably one of the first comic book publishers that has characters that look and feature characters that have the same experiences as them, or look like them, or their ancestors may have looked like them. You're a publisher that has provided a lot of access for people who never thought they'd get into comics. Heck, I've even attributed, a good part of the reason why I'm the creator that I am today is also because of you, simply because you were so kind as to open your arms and lend your platform to me and other creators. And that's one of the things that I think that Concrete is, that's what makes Concrete so special, and that's what makes indie so particularly special. And I think that's why so many people gravitate towards this medium and towards this platform. It's because, as all of you have said, as Dramella said, as Tashi and Loda said, and have you have said, mainstream has kind of lost some of its soul. It's lost some of its compassion, and it has lost the plot. It's not about the people reading the characters. It's a lot more about capitalism. And I just want to give you praise for providing a safe space for people to come in, to be themselves, to be quirky, to be nerdy, but also to be super into comics. And that's a cool thing too. So thank you so much, Lonzo. And congratulations for the past 5 years. You've done such a phenomenal job indeed.
No, I appreciate all those words. And, I couldn't do this without the Army, without the team, without everybody, all the pieces to the puzzle. That's really all this is. It's just a big chessboard, a big puzzle piece, finding the right pieces to make the right image, the right picture. Or as I was telling Lloyd earlier today, looking at the ocean and seeing where the waves are hitting at, and how you can swim with that wave that's about to crash on you. And then stay afloat. Can you swim out there? I think we did a really good job at swimming when the world was crashing. When that COVID wave hit, we did a really good job at treading water and staying afloat until we were able to build the pieces to our boat. And then once we got in the boat, now we're cruising to our destination. And we just hope to bring a whole community with us, and everybody that needs a ride, and you fit the bill and Jamil likes you, you can roll.
Gotta get past guard dog Jamel for sure.
Jamil likes you, you can come on the ship. You know what I'm saying? If not, you don't pass those tests. If you don't got that spirit, that energy, that light in you, we don't want you nowhere near us, man. And everybody on this panel got that light in them. You know what I mean? And I'm proud of everybody. I'm proud of every one of us, for just striving to be different, striving to really chase our dreams and not just chase them, wrangle them things up and take them by the ranks. So absolutely, shout out to everybody, man.
And last question before we wrap out, and I think this is probably one of the most important questions I have to ask you guys, is what does indie comics look like for you over the next 5 years? We'll start with Jermel, and then we'll end with Lonzo.
In what aspect? I mean, where I'm at, or the whole totality of everything?
I would say either one. You pick which one.
Honestly, if history showed you anything, once something becomes popular and everybody gets in it, it gets very diluted and saturated and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I think we're in the best time to create our core base of fans and stuff like that, because 5-10 years indie comics might be the thing, and now everybody's doing it, and there's no telling where technology is going to take us, including AI. So you gotta look at that. So I'm not saying it's grim. I'm just saying it might just be cool to do comics, and so everybody's just doing comics. And as far as Concrete and where I'm at, oh no, we heading to the top. As I said, I believe everybody in this panel, everybody in Midnight Comics, everybody in Concrete Comics, there's a love and a passion here. I wouldn't mind growing with more people, but I feel like this core is it, because I know everybody's here for everybody to win. When you have great people like Tasha and Lloyd that can put up with Alonzo just to do something like this, it speaks volumes, and I feel like that's important. And I hate Lonzo, but I respect everything he's done when it comes to Concrete Comics. I know the feeling is mutual.
Bro. You know what I mean? I hate you so much, bro.
There's the love in the room with us.
I know, bro. Like, I showed up to his house today and tried to get some water. That man said straight up no. I'm like dying for thirst. Like, he's not a good guy. Great business guy, but not a good person. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly, man.
You know what I'm saying? But nah, I feel like we're gonna be good. I feel like we're gonna be good because the passion and the love is there, and I feel like that trumps everything. Good energy really trumps everything. So that's what I feel about where we're gonna end up. That answers
Absolutely. Oh no, it does. And Lloyd and Tashi, same question for you. What does indie comics look like in the next 5 years?
I think it's going to be a very exciting time in the next couple of years. Really, I think we said this to Carla a couple times, so I'll kind of mimic that here in a second. As we hit a season of indie comics where it does become more saturated, as Jamel says, it allows for stories to really shine, ones that really have that passion and stuff in it, ones that didn't decide that this was the easy avenue. So although it will get saturated, will get diluted, real gems will start to shine in that. And not only that, we had that initial wave where people were writing from those experiences. But I think much like how Carla's story with Luna is going, we get to see stories outside of our current circumstance grow more, because those stories have been told already, right? We've already seen the police brutality situations. We've already seen these hard, whether it's racism or what have you, we've seen those stories. We've been able to get that out and express ourselves through these stories. And now we get to finally, now that we've freed ourselves through this telling of these stories, now we can start telling more fantastical tales. And I think that's why I'm really starting to enjoy Luna so much, because it's not tied to any past trauma, right? She's a queen in space of some planet we've never seen before. And she just is. And I think we're going to see a rise in that type of storytelling within the next 5 to 10 years. And I'm really excited to see that and what's to come after.
Absolutely. And CEO of Concrete Comics, Mr. Alonzo, what do you see for the next 5 years of indie comics?
I feel like we're coming out of the saturation period. I think a lot of the smoke and dust has settled, and you see who's gonna be the content creators, the creators and the publishers for this time period until the next wave hits. Because there was a lot of content between 2020 and 2024 right now. Yeah. And there's not that many that are still standing or have elevated beyond where they were. So I feel like right now it's got to be something that's going to jolt that wave back out. I don't know what it is. I don't know who's going to create it. One of us here in this panel may create it, but the indie community needs another jolt of electricity put in it to spark another wave of a bunch of people trying to come in here and do it. And as far as us in 5 years, I feel like we're really gonna ramp it up and take it to another level and try to build a community that's even larger than this, a safe haven, if you will, for content creators and just creators of the medium.
Absolutely. Well, this has been if nothing else, this has been a very fun panel that we've had during Kway Weekend. To all of you watching, thank you so much for your viewership of Kway Weekend this weekend. We've had a blast. I'm sure there's more content where this came from. But before we sign off, we already know where we can find Jermel and Lonzo. They're going to be here, and also make sure to check out concretecomics.com this week because there's tons of deals, sales, everything happening over there. So get your books while they're here. But for Lloyd and Tashi, where can we find you guys?
Okay, yeah. Of course, you guys can find us at midnightcomics.org, or you can find us on social media, Midnight X Comics, everywhere except for Facebook and YouTube.
Or Midnight.
Or just Midnight Comics. Dadgummit, I was close.
You guys are fine. And also, guys, this has been Thai Black and Culture. Thank you guys so much for watching. And of course, as always, keep it concrete.